Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As always, I am your host Akil, and
Your boy Knuckle. Aloha all.
this is the Akil and Knuckle podcast. Uh, so today we have a very interesting show. I'm kind of in the dark as much as you guys are. Well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But we're supposed to have a guest here today. One of Knuckle's close friends from Ghana, um, an American living in Ghana, is going to talk to us about her journey through faith, um, and what I've called, hearing the call in a noisy world. So Desmond, tell us a little bit about your friend while we're waiting for her. Does she have a preferred faith, or does she identify with a particular faith, or is she one of those like just free flowing spiritual types?
I actually don't know the answer to that because she's been in flux and in between. Uh, so I'm gonna let her answer that because it will be news to me, just like you. I know she came from a Christian background and
Like many
has
African Americans.
flirted slash I wouldn't say flirted. I don't want to put words in her mouth. I'll let her do it for herself. But has spoken highly of the Quran and Islam. So I'm not sure actually, uh,
Okay.
which is why I wanted to have this conversation with her. But for I'll let her introduce herself and give her own kind of like, oh, is that her? That is not her. And give her own kind of hellos and salutations. But from my perspective, I met her on my way to law school. And so if that gives you an idea of what type of person she is, we did like a pre-law camp together. And, women mature faster than men already. And she was already
I
older than
object to
us.
that. I object. I object.
That's neither here nor there, but she was older than the average person that was in this cohort, and she had this level of wisdom already being older than us and being a woman. And so she kind of little brothered me in the best way, kind of helped me to think through some of my biases and rougher edges, if you will, with my terminology, words I would use. For example, we had this big debate over the utility of the N word.
Oh,
And
I
yeah,
thought you were going to say the B word. I was like, okay, all right, that seems pretty stereotypical, but I'm glad it was a little bit cleaner. I
she's
guess
from
I don't know. It depends
NYC,
on you.
so I think she's a little bit more accepting of those more grimy words. But when it comes to that one from her pro African perspective, she just had some ardent disagreements. And yeah, so she always kind of like prickled me the wrong way and the right way, kind of like a big sister would, to the point where like my nick where I call her Angelica because she reminds me of Angelica Pickles from Rugrats.
Angelica.
Yeah.
Yo,
So
low key, that's how I used to always see my sister. Like, you are so Angelica. You're so mean. It's funny how that kind of works.
so that's the kind of energy I've always had from her. And so now she's moved to Ghana, and we're gonna hear about her journey going there and what opened her eyes. Just for the viewers that are in now, we are having, or she is having a little rain delay, if you will. She lives in Ghana in the boonies, and so service can be inclement. Um, but she will get back with me as soon as she can. If she does not join us, we're gonna power on with some other conversations we have, but this will be a good conversation, and I'm excited to see where it goes and what she's able to share. One thing before she comes on, I want to add, Matt, just to cue you in, uh, King Akko, you should know when we were. She knows a lot of. Remember when I mentioned traveling to Ghana? She knows a few imams in Ghana that she was
Uh huh.
wanting to introduce you to. This is the same person. I don't know if I
Yeah,
made
yeah,
that
yeah,
connect.
yeah. Yeah, you did. You did.
All right,
Well, while
but
we're waiting for,
unfortunately, I haven't heard back from her, so I think we should power along. I don't want our guests waiting in limbo. Once she comes in, I think the way she moves, we can jump right in it.
that's fine. because this is, I don't know, maybe it's just serendipitous, but don't take this the wrong way, but I think the focus is just going to naturally shift to you now. Um,
How
because
enlightening.
hmm?
I said, how enlightening.
Well, I mean, you've had quite a journey so far through this podcast, and like just from people thinking that you're being hypnotized and brainwashed to hearing both sides, like hearing the pastor come on and kind of defend some of the Christian doctrine, or at least try to explain it. It wasn't so much a defense of it as it was just trying to come to a realization. And I mean, I don't know, I can't speak for you, but for me, it seems like we did come to an agreement that at least the Trinity by itself is incoherent. It's I mean, not to put a negative spin on it, but it's a question we've been asking, and the answer seems to be that it is nonsense, um, in the sense that it doesn't make sense, and so you kind of have to just take it on faith. Um, so, what are your thoughts on that so far? Kind of walk us through how your experience has been through all of this.
you know, it's awkward. Wasn't expecting it, but it has been something that's been marinating in my spirit, or brining, if you will, for all my cooking
Come
fans.
into the mic a little bit more, or maybe tilt it. I don't know if it's aimed the right way, but you're a little quiet.
Mic check 1 2 1 2. Nadia, if you can hear
Not
me, say
bad.
"oh yeah" in the chat.
We'll be waiting for that for like at least 30 seconds. There's a delay.
Oh yeah. But wa alaikum salam, Nadia. I just saw your chat message from 12:23. Um, what was? Oh yeah, yeah. Can you hear me okay though? Before I get going,
Yeah, it sounds a little better. Yeah,
a little, but not noticeably.
I think it's good. Yeah, I can hear you clearly. Before it was like very quiet. Now it's like just moderately quiet.
Well, alhamdulillah. I think some of it is the mic has to do this catching up thing, and by Christmas I'll have a new mic anyway. Or is this the?
Oh,
Part of me wonders if this is
alhamdulillah.
the wrong side. Hold on.
Okay.
Does this sound any better?
Kind of hard to tell. I think that's kind of the same. I think
Do you
you
feel
look
better?
crazy enough though. I can use that for the screenshot or for the thumbnail. Just get the back of your head so people don't unsubscribe. She said, "Sorry, I don't obey any man other than my husband and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam."
And
Wow,
therein
that's
lies
that's
the
a good
problem,
Muslim
folks.
woman right there. She's loyal to her husband. She doesn't listen to you.
All right. And therein lies the problems, ladies and gentlemen. So
Uh
yeah,
oh.
so as the conversation has morphed and progressed, I've been doing a tally and like a mental score of like what's going on. And by what's going on, I mean like what am I processing? Does this make sense? Is it coherent? And if those who've been with us from the beginning remember where this started, we first started with making sure Muhammad wasn't deranged, peace be upon him, or demonically influenced.
Let's
And
say Prophet Muhammad so we don't get confused because you always refer to me as Muhammad and I don't want to confuse anybody.
fair enough. I would never say peace be upon you, but I guess they could still,
Hey, I would say peace be upon you.
And therein lies the
Sheesh.
problem again, folks. For those
I
thinking so.
guess.
Anyway, but yeah, in all seriousness, it's been an awkward. I feel like I'm being tenderized, and so I don't know why I keep going to these cooking metaphors,
Tinder.
but it seems aptly appropriate. And not just any kind of like tenderizing. I mean the kind where you beat the meat. Pause.
Whoa, whoa, hey
And
yo,
so
hey yo.
what I feel like is just like every week my mind is being um refined and bombarded with ideas. Because even when we factor in the Clint podcast conversation, our TikTok conversations, it's massaging me in a way where I'm hoping on the end of it I have more clarity. But at this point, Christianity's losing in the scorecard, and I'm just going towards something, but I'm not there. If that makes any sense.
Well, I don't like to look at it as winning versus losing. Um, and I definitely don't like to look at it as Christianity versus Islam. For me, this is very much so just truth versus falsehood. Because, I guess to kind of put it into context, in my mind, Christianity, the correct way, is indistinguishable from Islam. So it's not necessarily like, us versus them mentality, at least on my part. It's not about like whose theology wins out in the end. It's just about everybody getting to the truth. Um, and if it's not Islam, I'll be the first person to, reject Islam. I'm very much so just following where the evidence leads. And I think when we look at it in that light of we're all trying to get there together versus, who's winning, I think it makes things a lot easier to digest, and it kind of removes one of the potential barriers, which can be ego in trying to get to the truth, because the ego wants to be right. The ego wants to win. Um, Almost selfishly, you know what I mean? So when we kind of take that out of it and don't give the ego a chance to get itself worked up, then I feel like we have a much smoother conversation and a smoother time, like just getting to the facts, following the evidence. If you're talking to me, you're muted. I'm assuming you're not talking to me then. Okay.
No, now I am.
Okay, okay.
I was
Yeah, your mic sounds very low. Every time you come back in, it's like you're whispering. Yeah, now I am. Just like, I don't know if you can control your mic levels from your end. Try this. Click on the little gear wheel, the settings wheel. Uh, Go to audio
hold on one
and
second.
look at the bottom of that and see where your mic volume is. Is it all the way up or is it down a little?
Mic volume. I need to turn on my mic volume. Oh, it's not all the way up. Okay.
There we go.
I mean, it was at about 80%.
Every little bit helps, I think, in your
Is it
case.
any better?
Yeah, it sounds much better now, actually.
Okay.
Okay.
Pardon me. How do I say it? I don't disagree with you, but
Yeah, I didn't think you would.
I just think, from my perspective, there has to be a final reckoning, and that's what I mean by score.
Yeah, I get that, especially in your case, because you like to ride the fence. So I understand from your perspective why that might
But
be necessary.
I do appreciate, and I think I'm not I watch a lot of anime, and I'm watching this one anime. Sorry, I went there, and this guy is he's like this. He's trying to redeem his people, and he's like doing a lot of chivalrous deeds. Not necessarily unnecessarily, but like with the point of like redeeming his people's name. Only reason I mention that is because I I felt this perspective of like where like even though I just want to discuss this topic, I feel like I have to redeem the reality of even having the conversation.
What do you mean by that?
I'm always having to justify having this conversation.
Oh, okay. So to other people, you're having to justify it.
Yeah,
Why do you
that I'm
think that
not.
is?
I think that's because of the Western propaganda.
What do you mean?
You are a terrorist, even though you're my best friend.
Ouch.
Sorry, I
Okay,
don't.
okay.
That's not me talking, bro. I'm just
No, I
like
get it. I get it. I get it.
characterizing how people look.
Yeah, kind of like
But
how
hold on
old
one moment.
BB came on 20 minutes after old boy got unalived and was trying to blame uh is radical Islamists and progressives.
Hold on one moment.
Okay. I guess we'll just sit here and watch his goofy smile. Oh, he realized we were watching. Oh man.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys.
No worries.
But I don't even like. I had to take a second when that name is mentioned. I know you didn't mention it completely, but let's just change the subject, please. I don't want to be that guy, but I don't want to get us canceled. And I'm at my wits' end with these people in this conversation, and I don't want to be rude. But I love you, and I'm disappointed that I am vilified because now I'm the terrorist, essentially, because I befriended and listened and opened myself. Only reason I'm saying this is because I get these conversations like these. Yes, people, I know their wellness checks to make sure I still have an understanding of
Sorry, you cut out there. What was that?
to make sure I have an understanding of the party line, I would call it. But this party line is like team Christianity because none of
Yeah,
my
that
Muslim
makes
friends
sense.
really even care. Obviously, my agnostic friends are just in it for the intellectual journey. It's just a certain group that seems to not enjoy this intellectual exercise, and I'm sorry I keep harping on it, but it's a bit disconcerting because
No,
what
no,
it shows
I'm
me
happy you are
is
talking
that
about it.
we cannot. It shows me if we can't even civilly. I mean, so part of it is people think there's no need to. Why sit at the table with a demon? You might that spirit might rub off on you. That's kind of the best argument against having this conversation with you is assuming that this is all a ploy of the enemy to pull people aside. And so there's this idea that everything around Islam, not from obviously Reverend Davis, but Islam is a wicked religion. And so I might allow that into my spirit.
I've always found that interesting, actually, on a couple of different levels. Because on the one hand, Christianity teaches, that you are covered. If you are, a believer in Christ, you can't be touched by demons. You can't be touched by anything demonic. Uh, and another framework, or another interesting thought, is that, well, for one, it's like Christianity, its central theme is that they accept Christ as the Messiah. That's what separates them from Judaism, is that they believe in Christ. You're muted, by
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah.
There's only one other religion on the planet. Only one. I mean, unless you count Baha'i, which I don't really, but um,
You heard that, Nick?
yeah, nothing against Baha'i people who follow the faith, but for me, it's like not choosing more so than anything else. Or really kind of, and not even in a bad way. I like the fact that they want to focus on what connects us, but in the process, they kind of go too far, and now it gets to a point where you're trying to fit together things that don't fit. Um, but anyway, this is not about Baha'i. Uh, but unless you're talking about them, then there's only one other faith on the planet that accepts Christ as the Messiah, and that's Islam. I feel like there's much more that connects Christians and Muslims than what separates us. But what does separate us is heavy. I've said this before. It carries a lot of weight, whether or not you worship the Messiah. It's to the point so much so that most Christians understand the term Messiah to be a divine title, right? It's like how
Yeah.
can you be
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Messiah without being God? But that was never historically the meaning of Messiah. It literally just means anointed one. uh, and that's why the Jews, that's why they look down upon. Well, let's separate these two things because there's a little bit of nuance here. So that's why Jews are not allowed to pray in churches, because churches, from a Jewish perspective, are houses of idolatry. The Messiah was never meant to be worshipped. That's why they, assumingly, like presumably, accused Jesus of blasphemy, because claiming a man to be God is blasphemy in Judaism. So of course they couldn't have a concept where a man God was coming. That wouldn't make any sense. And also kind of, I mean, I didn't mean to make this about criticizing Christianity in general, but it also kind of makes it confusing as to, imagine Christianity is true and the day of judgment comes and you have all these Jews up there who are about to go to hell, and they're sitting up there confused. And they ask God, why did you tell us for thousands of years that you were not a man if you were just going to come as a man and confuse us? And that's a legitimate question. Like, why would God do that? Unless God was trying to trip them up. I'm not a man. I'm not a man. He says this over and over again throughout the Old Testament or the Tanakh. I am God, not a man. God is not a man that he should lie, or the son of man that he should change his mind or repent, depending on the translation that you read. He says this over and over and over again. And then he's going to just reverse on all of that and come as a man. That would confuse a lot of people. Now, I think a lot of people would have a valid claim against God on Judgment Day, which doesn't make sense. Looks like you want to jump in here.
Yes. I just have a question, actually.
Yeah, what's up?
What Old Testament verses, I'm not asking you, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, because the other reality that this has opened up in my eyes is I've never gotten this deep into my Bible study as I have in the last 3 weeks, studying.
Well, happy to push you into it.
Verses and passages and concepts that I knew, but I don't know. You get a fresher eye to it when you're looking past the words, because a lot of times you can read the Bible to be inspired, but you can also read the Bible to learn, and the two aren't the same, if you feel me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. It's a difference between edification and confirmation bias.
Yeah. So at this point, like even what you just
said, sorry to cut you off, but that goes both ways, right? Whether your bias is against Christianity or for it, that still remains a separation. Confirmation bias versus edification. I just want to make that distinction. It's not picking on Christians. This is anybody picking up the Bible, or any book for that matter. But sorry to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, along those lines, what you just said, I wanted to edify or get a little deeper into for a second, if you don't mind, and it might just be I misheard you, but were you saying that in the Old Testament?
Let's say Tanakh, so we can be sensitive to any Jewish listeners we have, because they would be offended by Old Testament, I think.
Sure, good point, and I respect that. So in the Tanakh, Jesus refers to himself as not a man?
No. In the Tanakh, Jesus doesn't speak. Jesus is not in the Tanakh unless you read him into the Tanakh.
Like, I don't remember this. Okay, thank you.
What I'm saying is God in the Tanakh, when he's talking to the Israelites, there are several places where he says, I am not a man, basically. Like Numbers 23:19. God is not a man that he should lie, nor a son of man that he should change his mind. And so Christians will take that and try and twist it a little bit. Like Dr. Eliatai, I love the way he puts it. He calls it hermeneutical waterboarding, where you torture the text long enough and it'll say whatever you want it to say. But they'll twist it here a little bit, just like put the screws to it and say, well, he just means that, he doesn't lie and he doesn't change his man. He doesn't mean the part about him not being a man, or that he wouldn't become a man later. He's just saying that he's not one at this point, which again, just kind of that's the problem is that we're raising, is that why would he say these things knowing full well, having full knowledge that he's planning to become a man at some point, and then going to burn for eternity the people who rejected him simply for believing what he said before, which is that he was not a man, right? So another one would be another example of one of those verses I'm talking about. I'm trying to remember exactly. I think it's what is it? Hold up, let me pull up Bible Hub, because I'm sure if I just read the name of the book, it'll come back to me. I want to say it starts with an N. Let me see here. If anybody in the chat knows what I'm talking about, the one where he's talking about, is it about the Ancient of Days? No, not any of those. No, I don't think it's those either. Wait, is it First Samuel? No. Is it Jeremiah? No. Sorry, folks. Desmond, you mind reading out Nadia's comment while I'm looking for this?
Let me see. My entire family. Oh, is this the? Yeah, my entire family hates my guts pretty much for being Muslim. We do this for Allah. Respect, Nadia. People are gonna judge you no matter what, even if you become a radical Christian. This is true. People what they don't know. People fear what they don't know, Nadia. I don't know. I put a word in your mouth. What did you mean after people something what they don't know? But yeah, I appreciate your perspective because I guess you know it even more intimately, considering you went all the way down the deep end, and I mean that in the most God fearing way possible. Oh yeah, you didn't mean fear. Good, good. Um, I guess what is it's more though about what not the fearing of what they don't know that bothers me so much is the lack of trust in like my ability to decipher my own truth. I guess that's the part that is kind of
Yeah, that was
alarming.
the other point I was going to go to after this, is like kind of like, what does the truth have to fear from a lie? To me, that doesn't quite add up. Like, if Islam is a lie and Christianity is the truth, what fear do Christians have of actually looking at the information? Because all we've been doing is basically, like you said, doing Bible study and doing history lessons, and then doing the same with the Quran, looking into the Quran, what it says, looking into the history. Why would history be a threat to the narrative of Christianity? That don't add up.
Yeah. The only I don't want to even say the answer out loud, but I'm going to quote the Bible in this. My people perish for the lack of knowledge.
Oof.
Is that the Bible?
Yeah, that's an appropriate time to raise that, I would say. Okay, so if I go here to the cross references,
Is it NBA?
where is it? No. What? Dang it! I swear it's on the tip of my tongue. It's like a book just disappeared from the Bible. It's
No, bro, take your
something.
time because the embarrassing part is this is not even your book of faith. I mean, I know that you guys respect and give whatever credence to the Bible, but I should know this.
It's something 11:9. I remember the numbers. I just don't remember which book it is. But it's one of the books, chapter 11, verse 9. And it really takes the point home. But there's a few more examples. 1 Samuel 15:29. Oh wait, this is a good one. Moreover, the glory of Israel does not lie or change his mind, for he is not a man that he should
Ooh,
change his mind.
what is that? What is
Um,
that?
that's 1 Samuel 15:29.
That's a good one. Thank you for sharing. Nadia said, "Say the verse out loud. Maybe she can find it. The one that's on your tip of your tongue. What you know
I
of it."
don't remember the exact wording. That's why I was trying to pull it up. But it's very close to the one we just read in 1 Samuel 15. So I'm going to pull that up and see um, if there's a cross reference that I can find. That is one thing I love about Bible Hub is it puts all this stuff together for you.
Yeah.
No, not that one. Something 11:9. Why is that standing out? Maybe I'm just confused. Maybe that's all. Um, but
It's
I'm
early,
pretty
man.
sure. And I feel like it should start with an N. Okay, but clearly not. Maybe a J? Ezekiel, Hosea, Joel. No, 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 no. No, no. Definitely not any of those.
Yo, Matt. You know somebody?
Yeah,
Numbers 23:19. Let me see what that says. Do you know somebody who I wanted to go on the podcast? Not to throw you off, but I think Angel Ortiz would be a great guest.
I've already invited him, but being a newly married man and a new father, it's kind of hard finding the time, which I completely
Oh, I
understand.
didn't know he had a baby. Congratulations, Angel, if you catch this podcast.
Man,
Congratulations on
neither did
finding.
I, and I was ticked off. Wait, I thought I told you about this because I was annoyed because his baby was born like a couple of days after my birthday or before or something like
I
that.
think you
I
might
think it
have
was
did
like,
tell me that now that I remember.
yeah,
Oh, Nadia, that was for me. Shout out to you, Nadia. God is not a
what?
man that he should lie, nor a
That's the
son
one
that
we.
he
That's the first one we read. Numbers 23:19.
or has
That
it
was
spoken.
the first one that I quoted.
Balaam has hired the king Balak of Moab to curse the Israelites. Whew. Yo, stand by, bro. I got to turn on the AC. My room's getting hot. I think the spirit is high. Hallelujah.
This guy. Uh, oh, there it is. Wait, why is that? Is that Hosea? I don't know why I was thinking it started with an N or a J, but it's in Hosea. Let me see if that's in these cross references. No, 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 no. Nope, not in there. Is it in this one? Hosea, Hosea, Hosea. Hosea, Hosea, Hosea. Nope. Okay, so let me pull this up. I'm not on the thing, so let me know when you get back in here and I'll read it out to you. Actually, let me just go ahead and pull this over here. And we'll come in here. I found it, Nadia, but thank you. Dang, that's crazy. Get back in here, Knuckle. We got dead air. Come on, buddy. We had a guest, but they seem to be having technical issues, so I
Yo,
don't
Matt,
think
sorry
we'll.
about that. Much better now.
Okay, no worries, no worries. All right, so I found it, and it's actually even more like it's even heavier than I uh, remembered.
Remembered.
Um, so it's Hosea 11:9. So I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to kind of draw you a larger parallel. But it says, I will not execute the full fury of my anger. I will not destroy Ephraim again, for I am God and not a man, the Holy One among you, and I will not come in wrath. Okay, um, but let's back
I
this
mean,
up and come into full context. All right, Hosea chapter 11 starts off with, "Out of Egypt I called my son." Does that sound familiar?
it does.
Why does that sound familiar? What do you remember that from?
Sounds like some mosaic and or Jesus esque
This is
verbiage.
quoted in the Gospel of Matthew as a prophecy of Jesus.
Oh,
When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. This is what Matthew's quoting. But the more I called Israel, the farther they departed from me. They sacrificed to the Baals and burned incense to carved images. So this is one contention that people have had with Matthew historically on quoting this verse, because it's talking about Israel committing idolatry, and he's linking that to being a prophecy of Jesus. So it's
wait, what
almost like
is?
exactly, exactly. It's almost like an unintentional self snitch, or like scoring on your own goal, or like a Freudian slip. It's a Freudian slip might be a better way of putting it, because he focuses on this part. But note this: Matthew is notorious for misquoting the Old Testament. He's supposed to be like the most Jewish of the gospel writers, and yet he constantly misquotes the Old Testament. And along with that, he even references verses as prophecies that we don't have in the Old Testament at all. But anyway, focusing on this, um, this is the part he quotes here. When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. Because in Matthew's gospel, Jesus comes out of Egypt. You know, his family was like running during the whole thing with Herod trying to kill the babies.
Yeah, yeah.
But he focuses on this part here and ignores the fuller context, because if you do actually apply this as a prophecy, then it literally goes on to say, but the more I called Israel, which would include Christianity, or include Jesus' ministry, the
Yeah.
farther they departed from me. They sacrificed to the Baals and burned incense to carved images. It was I who taught Ephraim to walk, taking them by the arms, but they never realized that it was I who healed them. I led them with cords of kindness, with ropes of love. I lifted the yoke from their necks and bent down to feed them. Will they not return to the land of Egypt and be ruled by Assyria, because they refuse to repent? A sword will flash through their cities. It will destroy the bars of their gates and consume them in their own plans. My people are bent on turning from me. Though they call to the Most High, he will by no means exalt them. And then it goes on to talk about God's love for Israel. How could I give you up, O Ephraim? How could I surrender you, O Israel? How could I make you like Admah? How could I treat you like Zeboim? My heart is turned within me. My compassion is stirred. And that's when we get to verse 9. I will not execute the full fury of my anger. I will not destroy Ephraim again, for I am God and not a man, the
Come on.
Holy One among you, and I will not come in wrath. So the very verse that Matthew quotes points back to God emphasizing that he's not a man. And so this is the point I'm making. So
Oh,
if we assume the truth of Christianity, we fast forward to Judgment Day, and you have
pause.
all
This was
these Jews.
Hosea. This was. I know you said who's. What verse is this, or what book?
Hosea chapter 11 verse 9.
And is it attributed to him, the prophet?
Which prophet? Hosea?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if there's contention or not, but it's in Hosea 11. I don't know. I would have to look that up to see if this
No
particular
worries,
verse
no
is.
worries. Just
The truth
wondering.
is, we don't know for any of the Tanakh, how much of it. There's some stuff like when you look at Isaiah, but we could just by looking at how the theories change over time, it just kind of underscores we don't know, because Isaiah has now been split into two books. Basically Isaiah and Deutero Isaiah, which is like second Isaiah, which is believed to have been written by another separate prophet who was not Isaiah but was possibly a student of him. Don't forget to try and stay in the camera so we can get those shots for some thumbnails. But anyway, remember, it's gonna be on the internet. Yes, anyway, so but now to this point, now it's been split. There's theories that it's even three different writers in the book of Isaiah. So ultimately, we don't know. We don't know. So you'd have to look into it and see what current scholarship is saying about this particular book or this chapter. But anyway, so getting back to my point, we assume the truth of Christianity. We fast forward to Judgment Day, and you've got thousands, if not millions, of Jewish people. Actually, at this point, probably billions, because this would include people up to today's time, standing in line for hell, but they have to go through judgment first, right? You're going to figure out why they're going to hell. And they stand before God, and they literally are saying, you told us you were not a man. How are we supposed to know that you were going to change your mind and become a man? You said you don't change your mind. Right? This is their hypothetical contention or complaint with God on Judgment Day.
This would be awkward.
Right. Like how does that make sense? This kind of goes back to, is Christianity nonsense? And I think ultimately we have to say, in the strictest sense of the word, yes, it is. Right? This does not make sense for God to basically set them up like this. This is like someone getting their ankles broke on the court, right? There's no way you like, I'm going this way, psych, and then you end up sprawling across the floor, and that's somehow your fault, right? Like you shouldn't have to play defense against God. It shouldn't be like that. That was the kind of tongue-in-cheek joke we were making, or I was making, in one episode where I was talking about, when you get to heaven. You get to the pearly gates, and the first thing you hear is, congratulations on, solving the secret code. You figured it out. You get to come into paradise. And for a lot of us, it doesn't seem befitting of God to play with salvation like that, to make it into a game where you either have to be very lucky or very lucky, right? You either have to be born into the right family and just shut off your brain, not think about it, just follow the crowd, or you have to be so confused that you confuse yourself right into the right religion, because it just doesn't make sense when you start looking at these things.
There's a third option that I think is more. I would pray the option people take is to study on their own to show themselves approved, as it says in the good book.
Well, this is assuming the truth of Christianity. This is assuming Christianity is true and getting into paradise. It would require two of those things. There's no way you can study this and arrive at the conclusion that Christianity is true, because it doesn't make sense. So you have to either be born into the right family, right culture, right time, and just luck into it without thinking about it and force yourself not to think about it, or you have to be so confused in your journey that you accidentally stumble into this, even though it doesn't make sense.
You don't think a lot of the theologians, pastors, and scholars who have tackled with these same questions that we've discussed haven't come to a level of understanding or tackling through those weeds?
Well, we've had one of them on the show, and he for anybody who's been following, he's supposed to be coming back, I think, next week. We had a scheduling issue this week, so he wasn't on. And I love having him on. He's a great representative of the Christian faith, I think, as far as being respectful and being willing to actually study as the Bible instructs you to. But he's telling you, he said it. This becomes a matter of faith. Anytime we get into the weeds and we're like, this doesn't make sense, he was like, well, this is, why it's faith-based. It ultimately always comes back to that. You just have to believe. It doesn't actually make sense. In fact, I can quote you several scholars. So you can, to answer your question directly, let me just let me do just that. Let me show you what the scholars say about this. I'll give you a few, and then I have one more thing to kind of answer your question, and then I'll pass it back to you. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 quotes to read to you real quick. One is, it's a quote of a quote. It's in William J. Ledoux's book titled Trinity Guide to the Trinity. And in this book, he's quoting Raymond Brown. If you're not familiar with him, he is an outstanding American biblical scholar who passed away in 1998. World-renowned Raymond Brown. And so in this quote, it says that Raymond Brown has reviewed the references in the New Testament to ascertain how Christ and the Holy Spirit are related to God the Father. He says that Jesus, this is Raymond Brown, being quoted by William J. Ledoux. He says that Jesus was never called God in the Synoptic Gospels, and that the fourth gospel does not portray Jesus as saying specifically that he is God. Moreover, there does not seem to be any justification for asserting that Jesus is called God in the earlier layers of the New Testament traditions. Brown does hold that Paul believed in the divinity of Jesus, although he may have used other categories to explain himself. This next quote comes from Dr. J. I think John is his first name, but I don't have it written down here. Dr. J.A. Dorner, in his book History of the Development of the Doctrine of the Person of Christ. This was written back in 1989. He says, it must of course be allowed that the doctrine of the Trinity, as laid down, are you with me? Because I know you're going to say you were listening later, and then you're going to miss something crucial.
Nah, I'm super locked in. But yes,
okay.
Thank you for checking.
All right. It must of course be allowed that the doctrine of the Trinity, as laid down even by the Nicene Fathers, leaves much to be desired. How shall we determine the nature of the distinction between the God who became man and the God, and in brackets it says how many gods, ? Who did not become man, without destroying the unity of God on the one hand, or interfering with Christology on the other? Neither the Council of Nicaea nor the Church Fathers of the 4th century satisfactorily answered this question. I'll give you a third quote. I got 2 more after that. And this one I actually shared with Pastor Tremaine on our last one. It must be admitted by everyone who has the rudiments, meaning the basics of a historical sense, that the doctrine of the Trinity formed no part of the original message. St. Paul did not know it and would have been unable to understand the meaning of the terms used in the theological formula on which the church ultimately agreed. Right? So this guy is saying that not all, like if you cannot be a serious historian or anyone who even has the basics of a historical sense. Nobody like that would ever say that the doctrine of the Trinity was part of the original message. And he's saying that St. Paul himself wouldn't be able to understand it if it was articulated to him as the Nicene Council agreed on it. This next quote, and the last one's very short, but this one right before it is from Dr. A.T. Hansen, a professor of theology at the University of Hull, in his book, The Image of the Invisible God. He says, on the evolution of the Trinity, no responsible New Testament scholar would claim that the doctrine of the Trinity was taught by Jesus or preached by the earliest Christians or consciously held by any writer of the New Testament. It was in fact slowly worked out in the course of the first few centuries in an attempt to give an intelligible doctrine of God. Okay, Now, this last one is like the kind of the seal on all of this. This is from Dr. Hay in his book Lectures in Divinity. I think this is in his second volume on page 235. This is short and sweet. He says it might tend to moderation and in the end agreement if we, Christians, were industrious on all occasions to represent our own doctrine, the Trinity, as holy, and holy I mean WHOLLY, not holy as in divine, but completely unintelligible. This is from a Christian scholar, Christian theologian holding a doctorate. All of these men are Christian scholars, Trinitarian, Bible thumping Christian scholars. So to answer your question, don't you think that the theologians, the Christian theologians who are grappling with this would be able to, they did, and they're telling you this doesn't make sense. And when we talk to Clint, this is one of the things I brought up to him because Clint's always been a very smart person. And that's something I brought up. Like you always came across as a very highly intelligent person, right? So when it comes to these things that don't make sense, how are you dealing with that? And basically his answer was, if you're there in the chat, Clint, feel free to speak up and speak for yourself. But as I remember it, basically what he says is you kind of have to compartmentalize these things in your head. You can't try and make sense of it because it doesn't make sense. So you'd have to take it on faith and then save your brain for other stuff because it's not going to make sense. And in fact, the last thing I'll say on this topic, I could show you videos right now. If you want to, I will show you the video of Christian scholars admitting that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a genuine prophet of God. So that should answer your question very thoroughly. What do the top minds in this field say? They say the Trinity doesn't make sense, and they say Prophet Muhammad was a true prophet. Why are they still claiming to be Christian? Why are they still pushing the Christian doctrine? That, I think, goes back to another thing we talked about with Clint, is that it's just a cultural thing. It's just about fitting in with people who look like you and not wanting to be seen as an outcast, not wanting to be a stranger in your own town.
So before we get all heard, just want to acknowledge that. But before we get too far past some of those quotes, in the ones that speak to this reality that some of the early church leaders would not be able to understand or articulate what this Trinity means, etc. I wonder, and I'd like you to speak to from your perspective if you have any thoughts on the reality. I believe there was supposed to be, even in the Quran too, correct me if I'm wrong, as I said, some type of purgatory space for those that the saints of old, as they're called in some traditions, those who died before Jesus is able to fully bring about his mission on earth.
Now, where is that in the Bible? Feel free to use Google.
I would hold on. Let me think before I use Google, because I want to say I can't remember the name of it. I remember learning the name of it. But I'm gonna go to Google for the sake of time. Hold on. Give me 36 seconds.
Yeah, sure. Take your time.
Feel free to address the audience while I keep freestyle.
I don't know if we even have anybody. Oh, wait, we had somebody's on YouTube, but I don't know. It might just be Nadia. And so I guess first, before before we go into where this is in the Bible, I think we have to clarify what you mean by purgatory. Because purgatory, as I understand it, is not a place for people who died before Jesus. It's a place for people who believe in Jesus but still die in sin.
Oh wow. Yeah,
And
that's
so
different.
they need to be like purified before they can go on to eternal salvation. That's what I understand as purgatory, at least from a, because I understand it from a Catholic perspective, but there could be other, I don't know everything. There could be other versions of purgatory that attest to this. Because what I think you are talking about, and I could be wrong on this, but what I think you're talking about biblically would be Jesus's mission when he died. Like he went to, when he died, he goes to, I think, Sheol, the grave, and he
Yeah,
preaches to the masses in there. And I think that is
yeah.
their chance from a
I
biblical
think that is the
perspective.
same thing. They call it Abraham's bosom.
No, I
But,
don't
I
think
mean,
that's the same thing. I think Abraham's bosom is like a euphemism for heaven. I don't think it's purgatory or hell
well,
or
I'm
the
just
grave. I could be wrong.
I'm looking at Sheol and it's referencing it on according to Gemini. I'm just gonna read this concept as I
Okay.
think it's a similar. It's from Luke, so I guess that's not the Old Testament though. Old Testament saints. Ephesians is also New Testament. So that's New Testament too. Okay, it looks like it's all in the New Testament. I don't know if that changes the temper of it, but anyway, the concept comes primarily from the parable of the rich man Lazarus uh, in Luke 16. In the story, the poor man Lazarus dies and is carried by angels into Abraham's side or Abraham's bosom, a place of comfort and rest. The rich man also dies and goes to a place. Oh, the rich man who also dies goes to a place of torment. This passage depicts a
Right.
division within the realm of the dead, known as Sheol, as you said earlier, or Hades in Greek, where the
Mm-hmm.
righteous and unrighteous are separated by a great chasm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, so all I was saying is, I guess this is the similar point, but if these if the righteous of before Jesus go to this place because they did not completely understand the Trinity, it seems like there is a well.
So that I'm not. So we're not talking about. Oh, did we miss something? Um,
What'd you say?
sorry, I don't know. When you reacted like that, I thought maybe something was in the chat, but I
Nah,
don't
I
see
just had
anything.
a eureka moment to
Oh,
myself.
okay, okay. But so we're not just talking about people who passed away, because in this contention that I was bringing up before we got to the quotes, not just people who passed away before Jesus came, but people who actively were there with Jesus and rejecting him because of what God taught in the earlier scripture.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Mm.
So God taught them, I am not a man. I am not a man. I am not a man. And then he came as a man and was just like, psych, that's the wrong number, you know. And so they had to like, they had to figure it out
I guess my
while
point is there wasn't be much figuring it out because from there that pre-Jesus time they would be right considered righteous, wouldn't they?
I'm not talking about the pre-Jesus time. I'm talking about like the Pharisees who are there with Jesus, and then all of the Jews from then till today who are relying on the Tanakh to tell them about who God is. Revelation, the whole point of Revelation, tell you who God is, and He repeatedly says over and over again, "I'm not a man. I'm not a man. I'm not a man."
And
Right?
that forms the basis of their truth. Yeah,
Exactly. In
I
fact,
hear
so
you.
much so that you could even there's even an argument to be made from the poetic nature of the language that when he's saying God is not a man that he should lie, he's in the same breath saying any man who claims to be God is a liar.
Do you have a cricket sound for the keyboard for effects?
Crickets? No, I don't think I have
A
crickets.
mic
Let me see
drop
what I got for you. Let me
or a
see what I
mic
got for
drop?
you. Wait, can you hear that?
Try again.
That didn't come across at all. Yeah, no,
No
that
worries. But that was a mic drop moment.
Oh wait, let me turn the volume up.
He's
Maybe that's
doing
it. Let me turn this
that.
volume up here. Oh, that's the wrong one.
Oh, now we can hear it.
Okay, that was the wrong one. Yeah,
Shouts out to our clipper. You got work to do.
there we go. That was supposed to be dramatic tension.
That'll work. That'll work. It's good.
But yeah, so yeah, that is what I'm saying is that, and even if you want to go back to the righteous from before Jesus' time, they had the same revelation, assuming they were Jewish or people, you know. And if for those Jewish people in Sheol, he's coming and preaching to them, saying, "I'm God," and they're like, "But you're a dude, right?"
Psych.
Right? Like, how are they supposed to? How are they supposed to figure that out? Like that. That's a setup, right? But yeah, so that is the contention I'm making here, is that the doctrine itself is it, no matter which way you try and look at it, unless you literally take your brain out of the equation and just try and ride the vibes of a gifted orator who's taking you through certain emotions, it just doesn't make sense. As soon as you think about it, it crumbles.
It doesn't. Not as soon. It's as if you think about it too long.
No, as soon as you actually think, meaning you start using logic, it crumbles.
Hey, this is the Akko and Nako podcast. So if you're not here to use logic, then you're me.
Right. So, but that is what one of the biggest things that to me doesn't make sense. But getting back to it, because we kind of got way off topic. But getting back to it, I honestly, and obviously, this is not all Christians, because we've had some great Christians come on this podcast and sit down and actually talk to us and study with us, and try and, answer some of these questions. But for those who are like, don't sit down with the enemy, don't do any of this and don't do that, it just kind of creates these big gaping question marks where it's like, well, why don't you want anybody to think about this? If I were a Christian asking these questions, would that be better? Because I would have the same questions. These are not questions like based upon my faith. This is questions based on logic and like just consistency. I have internal critiques and I have external critiques. So it's like, even assuming the truth of your religion, it doesn't make sense. It crumbles under its own weight. So I just, to me, that just, it doesn't sit well with me. But of course, you already know that about me. It's like, I enjoy, not just enjoy, but I need to understand what's being fed to me. I can't just take something because someone said it and then just not think about it anymore. That doesn't, especially when it comes to something like God, that's just red flags all day. Like, that is somebody trying to manipulate you.
I will say there is, those are the most alarming and troubling impressions, but I would say another third are very like the ones you have talked to, where they're at least willing to have the conversations. With those, I just hope they're willing to have the conversation to the end. And then there's a third cohort that is just,
I think we're up to 4 now.
Nah, I think it's about 30%. 3 different. Anyway, we can make it 4 because it probably is. But there's this other cohort that just like a, you know what? I'll save that for later. No need to even go there. I'm not gonna.
Okay.
This is not Ragtown time. But I will just say that I'm thankful there's enough willing to have the conversation, and let's make sure we have it to its full extent, or to its end game.
Yeah, that brother's starving.
Yeah, I agree.
And on an unrelated note, speaking of end game, it's relevant but unrelated. If you ever saw Endgame and Infinity Wars from the Marvel series, everybody knows that Infinity Wars is the superior movie between the two. Why though?
Okay.
Infinity Wars
listening.
And the end of Infinity Wars just, and the fight scenes And just like that was Thanos' movie, just like to wreak havoc. But it was
So you
great.
like it when the villain wins? Is that what I'm hearing from you?
No. What I'm saying is that
Okay.
movie was great. And although Endgame was a nice ending to the series, you needed to have Infinity Wars to make Endgame so great. And so, in this analogy that I'm trying to paint for my audience here, I think
Mhm.
we're in Infinity War.
In regard to what?
To get to Endgame, to get to the end game.
But I mean, but bring it to real life because there's a million things you could be talking about right now. What are you talking about,
We'll save that for the next podcast. But
bro? Come on, don't be lame. Come on. Where's my booze at?
you should have had them queued up.
Yeah, that's you right there.
The
This is a sick
Infinity War
Negro.
is kind of like there's an idea. It's a multifaceted idea, just like the infinite universes or the multiverse, as you call it. But there's this reality that just like that, the clock is out, the game is over, the jig is up.
For who? For what? Like come on, just bring it home. Just bring it down to earth. You're saying we're in Infinity War.
Said my time is out. I literally said
Huh?
my time. I'm bringing it down. I'm bringing it down to earth. My time is out.
For what?
At that moment when I'm turned to dust.
Okay, so you passed away.
Yes. The analogy stops there because we're not talking about the superhero saving us at this point. We're talking about now we're on the other side of eternity. And
Okay.
so before we get to that snap, we're in this moment of battles against a Herculean villain.
Who is that Herculean villain?
Some call it Babylon. Some call it the Empire. It's not the complete conversation today, but that system, that weight that is trying to set the world in the way that it wants it to be.
New World Order. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. In order for us to, and we're kind of like the Avengers, low key, trying to like battle our way to figure it out before that snap, and then it gets back to the analogy because honestly, on the other side of that snap is us doing the work to figure out how to save our souls or how to save the universe.
Okay, I think I see where you're going. Probably not the analogy I would have chosen, but I like new analogies that make me think. So I appreciate that. So basically, you're saying that right now we got a lot of work to do, and it's not going to be pretty. It's going to get ugly.
We need to assemble the Avengers. Don't forget that.
Need to assemble the Avengers, but that's the thing about Infinity War. That was the thing about Infinity War. They tried to assemble the Avengers and they couldn't. They didn't know where Thor was. The Hulk couldn't transform. Who else did you have? Vision was out of commission. Hawkeye was retired. Huh?
Great cinema.
Bro, I have a whole thing I want to do on the MCU because I feel like if we do some video essays on the MCU, I think there's a lot of, and maybe, I don't know, I think once is possibly me reading into it too much. But when it's the theme of every movie, I don't think that we can ignore that anymore. And I think it's basically like, I don't mean to be crass, but these movies are becoming more and more like an atheist wet dream. It's like basically like the worst caricature of God that you hear from atheists. Maybe it's because I talked to quite a few atheists in my time, especially over the past 10 years. I've talked to an innumerable amount of atheists of different types and different varieties. You have some that are chill and like just want to talk and like think about things, and you have some who are actually anti-theists, like not just I don't believe in God, but almost to the point where I believe in God and I hate him. Those types. That's what the MCU is, kind of feels like it's been written by, is people who literally legitimately have beef with God and like want to create all of these parallels or these analogies for the way they see God, not as an all-powerful creator, but as just a really powerful a-hole who has a lot of power but is not good at all and thinks himself bigger than he is. Thanos, right? Who else? The in the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie, or the last one, the Guardians of the Galaxy 3, I forget what his name is, but he's like the one who's like driving the evolution of all. Is he called the evolutionary or something like that? Giving it intelligence to creatures and then being mad at them for being smarter than he is, right? I mean, come on. If you talk to atheists enough, you're going to come across one who sees God that way. Ronan, all of that stuff, the purple guy from the first Guardians of the Galaxy. And I could go on and on and on. It didn't start out that way. When we got to like the first Iron Man, it wasn't, I don't think I saw too much of that in there. It was just a regular old movie. But as they got bigger and as the movies go on, this narrative begins to become, or this theme, this recurring theme, starts to become very prominent and starts to like rear its head up. And you're like, all right, like I said, the first time I saw it, I'm like, okay, interesting. Maybe that's just, because of, my experiences with people that I'm seeing it here. But then it starts happening over and over and over and over again. It's just like, all right, come on, come on. But yeah, so that's kind of, and it's always like humans overcoming gods, and like it's just like, yeah. Anyway, I think that could be an interesting little segment we could do. It's just a video breakdown of literally a lot. Like I would say, 75 to 80% of the MCU as of now has had this recurring theme in it. But it didn't start out that way.
Entire breakdown. It didn't even mention Galacticus. Are you boycotting Marvel?
No, I don't. Well, let me not talk about that. I don't boycott Marvel, but I also don't support Marvel. If you catch my drift. But yeah. So anyway. So what else we got? We were talking about your journey before we got off on all these different tangents. And you were talking about the most disappointing part about all this is having to justify to your peers that you are having this conversation. Is there anything else you want to say on that point, or can we move on to another part of your experience?
All right, we can definitely move on. I didn't mean to be there that long, quite frankly.
Yeah, we went quite a ways around the world, I think. But yeah, so moving past other people's reaction to it, you said that you are coming to something, but you're not quite there yet. Do you know what that something is?
Truth, Muhammad. Peace. Understanding, overstanding, as Sherelle would call it.
Oh, Sherelle and I have had some interesting conversations on this topic as well.
I can imagine. Wow.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah.
On the show.
Say again?
I said she'd be an interesting guest to have on the show.
She would be very interesting to have on the show. She asked great questions. She asked me some great questions. I thoroughly enjoyed when we would have those conversations. Back when I was carless, she would come and scoop me and give me a lift to a men's club, so I could be there to help Brandon out. And just from interacting with her so often, there was just so many chances we had from like just running random errands. Like she had to go to the store before she goes home, and so while we're walking around looking for stuff, we just chop it up about God and stuff. And like I said, she asked some great questions, and she has a good spirit. But anyway,
agreed.
So you said you're coming to truth, and this isn't even really pushback. It's just another position you can take to kind of get different perspective. Kind of like Niagara Falls, right? You can look at it from one side, or you can go and look at it from another side. And I would say that you never actually, at least in this life, get to see full truth. Now
Sheesh.
you can know true things. So let me really qualify this. You understand what I'm saying? You
Okay.
can know true things, but at the same time, think about it like this. There is no truth except Allah. And you can never truly fully see Allah or even
Yeah.
comprehend all that Allah is in this life. So another way to phrase that would be saying that there is no reality except Allah, except the true reality. Like you and I, from a certain perspective, don't even exist. We're not actually anything. We're actually the absence of something, if that makes any sense. One analogy that I've heard and kind of played around with in my mind is kind of like seeing it as if you have a projector, or to make it very simple for make it more accessible for everybody. Think of it as just a simple flashlight. You have a flashlight or a lantern, and that's God. That's our creator. And that light is emanating itself onto a wall, a blank void wall. Right? Now, this isn't a perfect analogy, of course, because it's God. But imagine now, how do you get figures or shapes on that wall? What is that?
You'd have to manipulate something in front of the glory of God, essentially.
Sure. But let's take it. Let's actually broaden our perspective a little bit further and say that God Himself can just choose where to shine and where to not shine, so that there's nothing else needed in this analogy, right? Because God is sufficient, so He chooses where to shine and where not to shine. The places where He doesn't shine, that's where the images come out. I kind of think of it like a shadow, right? If you put your hand up in front of the light, you'll get a shadow on the wall. But instead of actually there being a hand, let's just say that God is intentionally or consciously forming that shadow by withholding His light from certain areas, enough to make the images. All right, now let's
Beautifully.
kind of extrapolate that and take it beyond just a hand, the shadow of a hand, and make it into an entire image, a detailed image, just by varying degrees of light. The light itself is conscious and is in full control of how it displays on the wall. So it could even change colors by changing the frequency. It can, like I said, withhold itself completely and make a dark shadow. But that lack of light, the absence of light, that varying degrees of the light is what creates, or what we can think of as creating what we see as real. But what we see as real isn't actually real. The true reality is the light. That's the only thing that actually exists, is that light. And then the illusion of existence is created on or in the void. You could think of it that way. So I say all that.
If I'm understanding you, you're saying I'm just following this analogy to real life, and essentially God's essence is projected in all things, and He's
No, that's the exact opposite of what I'm saying. I'm saying you are a shadow. You are the absence of God.
Wow, the exact opposite.
The exact opposite.
Interesting.
You are the illusion of an image created by God withholding His light from areas. Not that His light is in all of us, because that takes people down a whole rabbit hole that will just trap you and put you into the wrong state of mind. Don't think of yourself as being God's light. Think of yourself as being the absence of God's light.
Why can I be
I am
God's
God
light?
and not a man. Take it back to the Bible, like we were just reading. All right. There's a clear distinction being drawn in the Tanakh between God and man. The two are incompatible. They are opposites in the sense that God has no limits. Man has very clear and very limited limits. Like, it's not even close.
I mean, I agree with that. I'm lost at the point where you don't see how God withholding his light also has its light in it being the absence of.
If you think of yourself as a shadow, just keep it very simple. That is not light. It's the absence of light.
That clicks.
The boundary created by the shadow between light and non-light is what gives the illusion of existence. There's something there. No, there's not actually anything there. There's actually something everywhere else. So now, instead of thinking of yourself as the shadow, think of the universe as the shadow. Everything you know of is within that shadow. Space itself, time itself is within that shadow. Huh?
I said that's clicking a little better.
Okay. Because like I said, I know where you were leading when you started talking about the light being in all things. No, not what I'm saying, not what I'm advocating. No.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell y'all what's happening right now. Matthew refuses to come to the dark side. He refuses to.
You're right. I do refuse to come to the dark side.
He does not see the God nature in us all, and it's really unfortunate.
That's actually not true. Again, you've misunderstood, and I think once you understand, you'll really be on the verge of that truth you were alluding to before.
I'm trying.
It's not that there's nothing in us of God's nature. The way that he has phrased it is that he has created us in his image. But it's not a physical. You have some people who thinks that God looks like a man. That's Jesus. It all fits, right? That's not what that means. What that means is that you have attributes that come from God or that are the same as God, but to a limited degree. You have love.
Bro.
Say again?
Why do you always have to limit us?
I'm not limiting you. You are limited. I am not limiting anyone. You are already limited. I didn't do it. That's what you are. And trying to imagine yourself as otherwise is one of those limits. It's one of the flaws in you, that you self-aggrandize, that you have an ego that wants to be greater than it actually is. If you can break free of that illusion, you will understand the true value and the true, if you want to call it superpower, of being a human. Is that you don't have all that stuff. You aren't being asked to be God. You have the privilege of being able to call upon God. But I'm getting a little bit derailed. Let me try and bring it back.
This is exactly.
No. It is a derailing because you're going to miss some crucial information if we go down this tangent. Okay? So, when we're talking about the image of God, we're talking about you having a loving nature. You can love me, but I can do something. I can do enough things to make you stop loving me.
Never, Muhammad. Never that.
I could. I would never intentionally do that, but I could. Right? Let's take it out of love because I understand the pushback there. Let's take it to simple forgiveness. You can forgive a lot of things, but there's a limit to what you will forgive. Just think about it in terms of human psyche. Don't try and make it personal.
Nah.
You can break the human mind
right
by pushing it too far with the things that it has to forgive. Right? If I keep having to forgive the entire world, eventually, except for very exceptional humans, like the prophets, peace be upon them all, the mind will literally shatter. You will see yourself as something separate from the rest of the world. The entire world is against me, and so I no longer care about the world. Sorry, let me switch us back. There we go. And so I no longer even care about the world. I literally have no love for the world because the world has no love for me. The lesson we learned in The Lion King, Hakuna Matata. When the world turns its back on you, you turn your back on the world. This is one of the limitations of human nature, right? There's a limit to how much we can forgive. There's a limit to how much we can know. There's limits to our knowledge. We can't know everything.
You're not mean it. You weren't supposed to hear that.
You were saying something, man. Anyway, there's limits to how much you can see. There's limits to how much you can hear. Allah has all of these attributes, but no limit to them. He knows all. He sees all. He hears all. There's no limit to how much he can love. There's no limit to how much he can forgive.
Matthew,
yeah,
I may interject. I don't think my contention is with the limitlessness of God. It's just with the miniaturization of our qualities. I have no qualms with.
So you're saying there's no limit to how much you could know?
No, bro. I'm saying
okay. So I'm not miniaturizing it. I'm just stating the fact that it's limited.
Okay. There's just an undercurrent of not acknowledging our own agency, our own power. So
you don't have any power, Desmond.
And that's where I'd push back.
Yeah, let's get into that point. You don't have any power. Think about this for a second. All right, and this is going into a philosophical thing.
Hold on, bro. You're still missing the point. I'm already acknowledging that he is limitless. It is limitless and has all the power. But to say we have no power is not acknowledging the fact that we create like no other creature on this earth.
Understanding what I'm saying right now is, like I said, it's the first step down that path to understanding the truth. Because what I was saying to begin with, it's all saying the same thing. There is no reality. You don't even actually exist compared to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the only true existence. You are the absence of that existence. You aren't really a thing without him. If he cuts off that light, what happens to you? You're gone. You have no power. You cannot create ex nihilo. You could not. If I asked you to, if I put your life on the line, hang on. I'm gonna let you push back. I'm not gonna keep bogarting the stand, but I do want to say this. If your life was on the line, or let's make it bigger. If humanity's collective existence was on the line, either Desmond achieves this feat or all of humanity is wiped out all at once. We would be doomed. And the simple task is to create the wing of a fly. Create the wing of a fly, and all of humanity gets to exist. Fail, and we're all doomed. We're out of here.
Yeah, sorry guys.
No matter how long they gave you to accomplish this task, you would never be able to do it.
No question about it. Well,
And yet Allah has created not only the wing, but the whole fly and everything else in the cosmos. And it didn't even tire him out. It didn't lessen him at all. He didn't get tired. He did not lose any power. It wasn't even like a matter of how much energy it's going to take. He just says be, and it is.
Yes.
You don't have power. You can't actually create. You've been blessed with the ability to take what Allah has given you and put it together in creative ways.
And there is power in that.
No. That's not power. That's not power.
Once you acknowledge the source of your power, what you're not acknowledging is once you're plugged into the source, you have power.
You're not plugged into the source. You're not plugged into the source.
I'm using
that's what I'm saying is like that you can't just pull power from that. It's not like, oh, thanks for plugging me in. Now I can do this. No, think about it like this. All right. If Allah takes your eyesight right now, who's going to give it back to you?
Allah.
If he wants to. If he doesn't, you blind. Yes. That's it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You don't actually have any power. In fact, think about it like this. Think about it like this. A little thought experiment for you. Every movement that you make, standing up and walking across the room, if you had clear vision, you would see angels actually doing the moving for you, moving your limbs. You think it's you. This is called compatibilism or occasionalism in philosophy.
Okay. That's wild, but get out of here.
I'm serious. Think about it this way. This is what I'm trying to crack open the door for you to start peeking through.
So an angel helped unalive CK.
Not just helped. Without him, without the will of Allah, it would never even begin. It could not get off the ground. It's not just an assistance, it's required.
Wow.
It's required. Nothing happens without the permission of Allah. Say it again.
I just didn't think we were going there today, but I guess
I didn't either, but I'm not mad that we did. This is an important discussion, I think. We got some comments I've been ignoring. Hey, rejoice. Assalamu alaikum. So yeah, this is what I'm saying, and I think the more you meditate on this, the freer you will begin to become. There's actually a hadith that says, oh wait, you know what? Let me look it up because I don't want to butcher this one. This one's important.
While you look it up, I'm gonna say a few things as I've listened to your Tom.
Yeah, go ahead. Feel free to. I'm listening too.
There's no disagreement in the fact that without the blessings of Allah, we'd be stuck in a rut, unable to have any level of capacity of greatness.
You wouldn't even be here. You could not.
Exactly.
There'd be no you to feel any type of sorriness for yourself.
Exactly. I'm simply saying that with Allah, all things are possible. Not saying that they will be accomplished, but there is a level.
You would have to qualify that.
The only quality is that, like, if Allah grants me the ability, He might give me my eyes back, my sight.
Not just ability; it's about permission.
Permission, ability. There's no disagreement aside from the fact that within His extreme, I don't even like to say His, within its extreme. But
it's okay to say His if you understand that He's not male or female. He has just chosen to reveal Himself using male pronouns.
Oof, Lord
because Jesus. It kind of has connotations that it's like, you know.
I think we should get Jessica Valois as our special guest.
Who is that? Who is that?
Jesse. We're not using government names in this thing, but she always likes our statuses. Thanks for being a follower from afar. We love you. You kicked me in my shin and it hurt. I still remember it to this day. To this day.
You talking about the Korean Jessica?
Hey, he said it, not me. We love you and your culture. Yes.
What's wrong with her being Korean?
Nothing.
Well, you said it like I said something wrong. Like, you said it, not me. Like, okay, what's? Maybe I just misread that. I was like, what did I say wrong? She's Korean.
Nah, but I just wanted to give her a thanks for always giving us her appreciation. Much love, Rejoice. Matt, you be sending me down these rabbit holes that it really infuriates me because it's like we slow burn and then right at the end you would be like, oh, by the way, God's not dead.
Well, of course, God's not dead. That makes no sense.
I'm using that hyperbolically. You just say some like
No, that's not
flippant,
the one.
like conclusory statements that's like
Uh,
that requires a rebuttal that you nor I have time for. Because I do have a hard stop as well. But I really think we should pick up on our next Wednesday or Friday cast with this topic, even if we take it to our TikTok audience. Because I'm not saying I disagree, but I'm saying I really would like to just have a moment to clarify and cleanly say what I'm saying because I have
sure. No, I understand that.
tangential
No problem.
response to what you're saying where like I adamantly agree but adamantly disagree. And I know that makes no sense, which is why I would like
Okay,
a little time to qualify it.
that's fine. Let me read this hadith to you so you can kind of maybe it'll start to crack that door a little bit more. So it says the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that verily Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, whosoever shows enmity to a wali, which means a friend of mine. This is Allah speaking. Whoever shows enmity to one of my friends, then I have declared war against him. And my servant does not draw near to me with anything more love to me than the religious duties that I have obligated upon him. And my servant continues to draw near me with superlative deeds or supererogatory deeds until I love him.
I'm sorry, bro. Please repeat.
What?
Did you say superlatory ease or superlatory deeds?
Deeds.
Okay.
Deeds. Until
Ooh.
I love him. When I love him, I am his hearing with which he hears, and his sight with which he sees, and his hand with which he strikes, and his foot with which he walks. Were he to ask something of me, I would surely give it to him. And were he to seek refuge with me, I would surely grant him refuge. So what I'm saying is not something that you can't push back on. What I'm saying is that there's levels to this, levels to your understanding of where you fit in this big story. And as long as you are trying to frame it as if you have power, any power, you're still lagging behind. I'm just trying to get you to that next level by acknowledging that he is the only power and that there's no you without him to even consider being powerful, right? That starts leveling you up. But the first thing, as it says in this hadith, is to draw near to him with the most beloved things to him, which are your religious obligations. So the 5 prayers, the fasting of Ramadan, the zakat, and the pilgrimage, the Hajj. Doing these things. Wait, did I say all of them? Hajj, prayers, fasting, charity. Is there one more? Or is that it? I mean, obviously belief in Allah is part of it. But anyway, doing those things gets you in the door. And then you start doing
Hold on, Muhammad. Hold on, please.
Okay. Or just for dead air or what? Oh, we lost him. Well, I've got to wrap up here anyway. So let's do this.
Yeah, I've got a hard stop, brother. Sorry.
I've got a little. No. Like I said, it's just good timing for us to close out because I gotta go. So I'll just say this last thing, and then if you have any closing remarks, we can just be out of here. But yeah, doing the obligatory things is the most beloved thing to our Creator. Doing those things, showing that you love Him enough to do what He asks you to do. It's one thing to say, "Oh, I love God," but as we see in society, there's a big difference between the people who claim to love God and the people who walk the walk. So walking the walk is the first step, and then starting to do those superlative things or those extra things to get closer to Him. Gets you to a point where the ego, as you can see in the hadith, the ego is being removed. The I, the me, is being removed. And Allah is literally almost taking the place of the person completely. He's the sight by which they see, the hand by which they strike, the feet by which they walk. And if they ask anything of Allah, He grants it to them. If they seek refuge with Him, He grants it to them. And so it just puts you, the thing that you're seeking, the part that you're, the place that it seems like you want to be. I'm just trying to show you the path to getting that is by taking yourself out of it, removing yourself from the equation. I don't have the power. But anyway, we can finish unpacking this in another episode. It's been great chatting with you, as always. Unfortunate we lost our guest for today, but the show continues anyway. But before we go, do you have any closing remarks?
Just two, just three. I love this. R.I.P. my brother Otis. I think about you all the time in this search and conversation, and I'm ready for more. As cheesy as that sounds.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. It's always bittersweet remembering Otis. He's part of the reason why we do this. A big part of the reason why we do this. So, with that, of course, to all the believers who follow us, I say assalamu alaikum. And to those who are hearing the call in a noisy world and trying to make sense of what we're saying, stick with us. Just hang in there, and inshallah, your heart will be softened and turned, and you will be guided, and we can all get to this finish line together. May everyone be blessed. Hug someone, tell them you love them, be with your families, be in the moment. Put down the phones for a little while. I know you're probably on your phone right now, but go ahead and put that phone down and just be with your Creator for a little while, if nothing else. Just take that time.
Amen.
So yeah, that's going to do it from us here at the Akla Knuckle Podcast for today. Can't wait to see you all again in the next one, inshallah. Actually, next week I'm probably not going to have a whole lot of time for extra streams, but we'll try and be back here if we can. And if not, then we'll see you all on Sunday. Peace.